Um, I guess before trying to in the context of Nigeria and these organizations and groups that have command and that have some amount of like support and whatever, or and have earned the trust and the loyalty of segments of the population to some degree. The thing to do in going into these communities and in trying to work things out is to think in terms of, you know what your values are, and they have their values. And so instead of trying to impose your values, for example, you want the economy to grow, you want education, you want to move forward the issues because these are the things that you campaigned on. You want this to go forward, you want that to go forward, you want that to go forward. But obviously you cannot assume that these are their values, because if these were their values, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. So clearly, in the case of HIPOB, having people be most productive, be in the marketplace, be creating things, be moving their economy forward, be working on business, be working on industry, be working on transportation, be doing all that stuff on a Monday. It doesn't, it's not a priority for them. Moving things along every weekday in a way that holds up the economy and the society. That's not their priority. That's not their values. That's the values of maybe the government and other members of the community. So in going into a situation like that, you have to kind of not realize that their values and not your values, and so in so doing, a wise thing to do, a wise way to handle a situation like that, is to not try to change their values right away, or try to tell them that, why are we doing this? This isn't moving anything forward. It's actually holding us back. I mean, come on, look at this. Clearly, that's not the most important thing to them. Because if it was the most important thing to them, they wouldn't be doing it. If they wouldn't be doing all the things that get in the way, that is. So you have to come at it from a perspective of just letting them come from where they come from, letting that perspective be there, letting it be what it is, because it's that's the safer way to begin. Because if you trigger them, then they'll have an excuse to just lot all sorts of nonsense. So you want to avoid triggering anything by just letting their values and be what it is. And because if you try to make a formal agreement too, that may be difficult because they might appear to agree on the surface and not do it. Anyway, the point is, the way you want to come from in your stance, in the values that you're bringing, in all the things that we espouse that we want to do that are good for society, that are good for the economy, that are good, and that we campaigned on, that one campaigned upon doing, is to do those things along with what's already there, not to engage in trying to step and push them aside in such a deliberate way, because all that does is trigger activity that's going to make me say, oh well, look, he's not successful or she's not successful, what's going on, because look all the wahala, look at all the trouble that this has flared up. But the only reason that the trouble flared up is because you decided to go after them as a first and foremost thing. So you don't do that. You don't go, you let some of that just be what it is. If it's a real problem, you deal with it with law enforcement. So you beef up law enforcement, you deal with it with law enforcement if it's a real problem. But if it's not, you let that perspective be what it is. And with the value system that you campaign upon, that you're trying to espouse, that you're trying to do, for example, one thing that could be done that I would think would be really fun and really a good idea in the case of the Monday sit at homes is to say, we're going to have long work day Tuesdays through Fridays. So if you worked up to 10 or more hours, or your shop was open 10 or more hours, you know what? That's wonderful. Maybe someone from the governor's office will pay you a visit, from a random lottery, and you'll get a special prize. To really just, because now you're achieving the same thing. Now you're achieving something good, you're doing something proactive, and you're making more out of the rest of it, and you're moving things along. So in that goal of moving things along, you've sort of sidestepped the rubbish. You've let their rubbish, and I will call it rubbish because I don't know what that does. All the wahala that they generate. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily do anything. You've sidestepped that and are still able to move things forward. That's an important thing to know to do. Is to just be able to say, hey, you know what? things need to still go forward. We need to move along. We need to grow. We need all these things that we say we want. We need to do them. And so you find a way to do that instead of, and then sort of take them on more gradually. Watch how they respond to you being there, how their value system interacts with your value system. And then from there on, you could take a tactical approach to figure out how to deal with them. That to me is a better approach. Is just let them be there, let it sit there. Use law enforcement to deal with any outbreaks, beef up law enforcement, and then watch how what you're doing interacts with what they're doing. And then in that way, figure out how to just like get out of the problem. And that way you're also winning support. You're winning support because people are seeing that, oh, we really like what this guy or what this lady is doing. We really like what's going on here. We want to come on this side more. Exactly. And you're chipping away at some of their legitimacy because here is this beautiful thing going on here and they're being brought on side there. That to me is a good way to deal with that. Because what you want to do is that you want the hierarchy of what's the most important is really like, even though, something like, we talk a lot about something at the stay-at-home thing, very bad, but really the most important thing is life and protection of property. So you put that at the top of the list. As long as people are okay, as long as property is okay, you've dealt with the main issues. So you come at it from that perspective. So if you come at it from that perspective, it's easier to just sort of leave certain things alone like that and work with it. After you've been there for a while, you've let them see where you're coming from and you see where they're coming from and how all that sits next to each other. Then you can start deciding, how do we make this better? How do we move things along more and get out of, this particular situation that seems to, cause security problems or whatever. So, or just disobedience just causes like things not to function in a proper manner. So to me, that sort of tactical approach is the best way, not to, go after them right away, just as a right off the bat thing, with any form of agreement. I think that's too easy for that to be ineffective. So